Welcome to Savor the Story podcast, where books and snacks are life. I'm Nicole. That's Vanessa.
Hello. Welcome to bonus bite number 6. That's not Twilight.
It's not Twilight.
Yes. I think we're all collectively breathing a sigh of relief that
it's finally over.
Yes, it's finally a deep dive that is not Twilight.
That was a big one to start with.
It was, and it's all my fault. It's fine. We're just gonna move on, and before we know it, we'll forget what our first bonus bite
even was. I'm already mentally blocking it. So
great. I love that for you. Before we start, can I tell you something that I'm upset about?
Yes.
Okay, so I went to Starbucks. As you can see, I'm hiding over here.
Mm-hmm.
My drink is not supposed to look like this.
I saw you take a drink, I was like, what in the hell is she drinking?
So I'm really upset because I was really craving or as Tim would call it, my full octane drink that I usually get is a cafe vanilla frappuccino. And a cafe vanilla frappuccino is essentially a vanilla bean frappuccino with coffee. So I ordered a cafe vanilla, and on the screen it popped up like they were doing the order or whatever in the drive-thru, and it said cafe frappuccino with vanilla pumps. And I was like, that's not right. So I got up to the front and I was like, hey, I saw on the screen, blah, blah, blah. And he was like, oh, you wanted the cafe, or you wanted the vanilla bean. And I was like, yeah, the vanilla bean with coffee. And he was like, cool. Well, they gave me just a regular vanilla bean. So it still tastes fine, I guess. It's just not what I wanted. But it's okay. I'm still going to drink it. And I had already told him once that that he did it wrong. So I wasn't going to do it a second time. I can't be that person. So so here I am with my vanilla bean frap. And what the river knows.
And whatever the fuck the river is doing.
What the river is Okay, listen. Hold on. So, I think my river is flowing. What is your river doing?
My river is in a rave. Like, if you can't see,
go to our video now.
Because I am not a sticky note in the book kind of person. And so when I was doing this, I was purposely putting the sticky notes in such a way that I could retrieve them easier at the end, because this is a special edition.
Okay, what version are you reading?
This is the this is the Fairy Loot. Sorry.
Okay, I was like, why is yours different? Because mine is the Owl Crate.
So mine is the Fairy Loot.
Okay. Oh, you have your cover on still? Okay, this is the hardcover without the dust cover on it.
Yeah, this is mine without the dust cover.
Pretty. I think they're both pretty.
Yeah, I also like the inside of the dust cover. It's just like
let me see mine.
Like, if you guys can't, like,
this is
trying to show
Owl Crate. Oh, look at this! I didn't even look in here.
Oh, I like that one. I like that one better.
Yeah, I'm gonna look. Ooh. All right. Yes, definitely. If you guys are just listening and not watching, you need to go to the YouTube or to Spotify, and you can see the video of our fancy covers.
Right. And also
whatever Nicole's river is doing, because that is wild.
It's like an evil cat.
Okay, so your plan is to take those out as soon as we're done here.
I'm actually going to start taking them out as we go through. So as I get to my sticky notes, I'm going to take them out of the book because I don't want them in there. So, and just to explain, the reason that they're sticking out so much is anywhere that I wrote on the sticky note, I purposely left that one out of the book so the ink wouldn't smudge the page.
Ah, yes. Good idea.
Very, very many concerns about that.
Yeah.
So that's good idea. That's why it looks like I'm in a rave or something. I don't know.
I don't know what your river is quite chaotic.
Yeah.
So as we said, we are going to be talking What the River Knows today by Isabel Ibañez.
And can I first say that I don't know why it's so hard for me to remember the title of this book. Like, I'm not even joking
either.
Like, that's why every time we were talking about it, I was like, whatever the fuck the river is doing, that book is the one. So.
That's why when I messaged you the other day, I was like, you know that book, The River Be Flowing?
Right. Which is just as confusing because I was like, what book is this? Is this a new book? And then you started talking about it. I was like, this book looks sounds pretty close to a different book I know. And, then, and I'm the bonehead who couldn't put it together.
It's fine. I can never remember. I can't remember the name of the second one either. So the library is doing something over there and the river is doing something over here. So either way, What the River Knows. And only because I'm looking at it do I know the name of this title.
Oh, yes.
And this is Nicole's pick.
My pick.
Your first pick for bonus bite. And just the only information I have about this book is that it was released on October 31st of 2023.
Yeah, I read it I don't think when it first came out, but I read it pretty close to then.
Yeah.
And obviously I've been waiting for the second book to come out. The second book came out a couple months ago.
November, yeah.
And now I've had to wait on that one because I knew I was going to pick this for bonus bites, so I didn't want to ruin it.
We will get there. Yes, we will get there.
We'll get there.
So we're gonna do this a little bit differently than we did for Twilight. I'm gonna try to streamline it a little bit, just so that our thoughts are in a row. And if you listen to Breaking Dawn, it's not gonna be us being like, "What chapter are you on?" So we're gonna make it a little more streamlined. I'm gonna help us along.
Well, hopefully less, but just for everybody who's listening or watching or whatever, Vanessa didn't tell me about this plan until I was already 75 pages into the book. So the first 75 pages, I only have sticky notes for when I had thoughts.
No, that's okay. That's okay, because I feel like even if you didn't, as soon as I bring up what happened in the chapter, you will be like, oh yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, and
because
we
both just finished. Exactly. And I finished last night. So we're both, I think it'll be okay.
Really down to the wire on this one.
Yes. I think we'll be a little more streamlined. We won't be jumpy. We're going to get it together. We hope that you also read it so that you can be along with us, because if you don't know already, this is a full deep dive.
Full spoilers.
Full spoilers. It's basically, we're going to talk the entire book. So we hope you're ready and that you're going to share your thoughts and feelings with us as soon as, Okay. Are you ready to get going?
I'm on my first sticky note.
Okay. Can I tell you first? Because I'm going to just assume we've all read this book here. So we all know how it ended and we're not going to talk about it. Okay. So we're going to go through this book because I have a lot of sticky notes about Whit. Okay. And my feelings and my thoughts and like all that kind of stuff. So we're going to go through this book initially.
Like you don't know the ending.
Like we didn't read the epilogue. All right. We're just going to pretend it didn't happen. And then when we get there, we'll talk about it.
Yeah. So that's actually, since you brought it up, I'm going to talk on that for a second.
Yeah.
Whereas with Twilight series, you had already read them all. So I don't know how that influenced your sticky notes. But for this one, I found it did influence my sticky notes.
I'm sure it did.
I found myself probably not commenting on more than I think I would have. I know there was at least a couple parts where I was like, I feel like I had a reaction here, but I don't remember what it was. But as the book started coming back to me, I was like, ugh. So, Yeah,
well, I did not know the ending. I did not do what we had talked about in our last episode about reading the last line first. I did not do that. So I had no knowledge. So you're gonna get a lot of me thinking that like everything's really cute.
Like, oh, I love this guy.
Yes.
He's evil.
We don't know. Okay, so I just need you to know that's the first thing I wrote down was we're just gonna go through this as if that didn't happen until we get to there. Okay?
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Good.
Okay, so we start off obviously in the prologue. And we get Inez's life, her parents like spend all their time in England in Egypt, not England. And we learn a little bit how the magic works in this prologue, which I think is really cool. We don't get a whole lot of it in the beginning, but just enough to kind of understand like how the magic works. And then we also learn that her parents died in the very beginning.
Mm-hmm.
So throughout this chapter, I have one, or I guess the prologue is a chapter, right?
Sure.
I have a note. So I know that you didn't read Harry Potter, but I still feel like you have an understanding of it, that there's a part where she's talking about how her dad really likes to collect like the magical items and stuff. And it was really giving me like Mr. Weasley vibes, who likes to collect all like the muggle things and like flying cars and stuff. I immediately was like, Mr. Weasley. Yes. Did you have that thought at all?
No.
Okay, great.
I didn't have that thought, but I think if that was like a thing, I would definitely be a collector of magic things, right?
Yes.
Like, so I like you said, I thought the magic was cool, but I thought that the idea of having like normal, ordinary, everyday things have like, you know, mild magical powers be like, I thought that was cute. So
yeah,
I was like, oh man, I would love a sandal that was also a flashlight.
A flashlight? Yeah. I do like kind of how we learn throughout, because like in this prologue we get very little of how the magic works. We kind of just learn that like there's traces of magic on items and stuff, but it's not till later that we learn that like literally anything could be anything. Like it doesn't the magic is not associated with what the item is. So I think it's kind of cool that we learn very little in the beginning and we kind of learn more about it throughout.
Right. It's just like setting the stage that, hey, in this universe, magic exists.
Yes.
Yeah. Thanks.
Exactly. Yeah, so that's kind of the prologue. It's just, I feel like setting up magic, setting up the fact that her parents are in Egypt, and then that she learns that they've died. So our first chapter is Inez decides to go out on her trip out to Egypt all on her lonesome, and we get our first Whit meeting. This is where I feel like it's crazy that we meet him so early. Like there's not really a whole lot of story with Inez on her own without him. I do love their first meeting. I do love how snarky she is with him, like right off the bat, and how he's like, oh god, this is what I'm gonna have to deal with.
Yes. So I did every single meeting in the beginning of the book between them, which she like takes off with, like, while he's standing there with her luggage.
Yes.
And then the carriage ride, which I know comes later. I was just like, yes, so sneaky.
Yes, I like from the very beginning, I feel like I immediately loved their banter. And I'll say this now, even though we're so early in it, but I feel like I already had that feeling. Was like, I feel like that's like a big thing now, where everybody's trying to get this like really cool banter, and that's the thing that like authors push, and they're like, oh, my two main characters have such great banter, and a lot of times it's just them being like sexy at each other. And so it doesn't always work for me. Where this book, I really did enjoy their banter. Like,
oh yes,
they were snarky and sarcastic with each other. Like, he makes it very clear that she's annoying in the beginning. Like, I can't deal with your shit. Like,
right.
And so I do really enjoy their banter.
Right. Plus, like, on top of that, them like pushing each other's buttons.
Yes.
To see where that line is, right? Like,
yes.
So I thought that was interesting to there. See, that's what when I talk about other books, like, and I'm like, oh yeah, where is them like coming to like be friends or fall in love or anything like that? This
Give
book,
me something.
Right. I don't want to hear just like it's all sexual attraction and all of this part, the banter and the becoming friends and like stuff like that happens off camera, you know, air quotes, or off book, off page maybe is better. So yeah, I was happy to see a lot of it in this book because I feel like it tells a little bit better of a story.
Yeah. So like you're saying, I definitely feel like the way you just said it kind of makes it a little better than how I was like, I don't like it when it's sexy. And the person in their own mind is like, he's got abs of steel or something. And like, that's how we get to them falling in love, where this was much more, I feel like, organic.
Right.
Okay. So the next chapter we get is just an overview. Is there, she gets on the train to learn to run away. Yes, to run away from him. And we learn in this chapter about the ring that her father sent her, and then obviously Mr. Sterling steals it. And so we get the ring, we get it being stolen, and we get our first little Whit point of view, which I thought was really cool. I liked that she threw that in there every once in a while.
Yeah. Whit doesn't have very many points of view things, and they're usually all pretty short within like a page or something, but I did really enjoy all of them, except for maybe the last one, but we'll get there.
Yes.
But yeah, so on the side note where she meets Sterling here, and he steals the ring. I remember the first time I read this, and like, how did he just steal a ring off your finger?
He literally just grabbed it.
Whoop! Just like close your hand. That's all you had to do is like bend your finger. Like,
yes, I had the same thought. Like, I just don't. I don't understand. So I did keep forgetting in the beginning of this. I did keep forgetting we were in the 1800s. So I do kind of feel like maybe that was a little bit of it, even though I do feel like Inez has this personality where she's kind of like, I don't care that I'm a woman in the 1800s. I'm going to do what I want. But I still do feel like maybe there was an element of like minding her manners to where she didn't fight back until she realized what he was doing, you know?
Right. And by that time, to your point, he also did the whole, like, this woman is being hysterical. Careful, we're on a train. Her uterus might fly out.
Her uterus might fly out.
Sorry. So, yeah.
I mean, it is true, obviously, right? She raised her voice, so obviously she's on her period. Yes. So, I will say I immediately, before he even took the ring, I wrote, I do not like this man. So clearly I had vibes. But that's kind of all we get with that kind of like little storyline. And then
he pops up a couple times later in the book, but it's like from afar, and you never really get anything out of that. So I mean, I'm interested to see how big of a role he plays in the second book, because even at the end of the book they were still worried about that ring. I still feel like that there's something that's got to happen with him, right? Because it seemed like he was such a big deal, and then he was gone. So she gave a pretty good backstory of why he would want to be able to find Cleopatra's tomb. So I feel like that's probably he has the motive to continue to be in the story later on. So.
Agreed. I do like that the first line that we get of Whit's POV is "for fuck's sake."
Yeah.
I love that he immediately was like, "All right, I see what this is." Okay, so we get to the next chapter, and she's made it to the hotel. She learns that her parents have a room there, and when she goes in, her parents' stuff is like literally everywhere. So yeah, I feel like I think we don't get like a whole lot in this part. It's really I feel like it's just building the story, right, of her,
introducing characters and setting the backstory, why. Yeah. There's I mean, I feel now that I've read it the second time, I feel like there are some clues in there.
I could see that
I definitely missed, but there's a lot of like.
So when you go back through knowing what you know about her mom, it's like, oh, okay, now I can kind of see some of this. Like,
right. Oh, yeah. So the first time I do remember, I was like, man, she had shit parents.
Right.
But that's kind of what I chalked it up to, right? Is like, they're just bad parents. Like, maybe they just didn't want a kid.
That's kind of what I was thinking, is they didn't want a kid and they wanted this like archaeological life,
right?
And
they had the money to do it, so they were just funding their own vacation / whatever. Right. So yeah, that's kind of the first time I read it. I was like, man, these are just fucking bitches.
Right, exactly.
The second time I read through it, I was like, oh yeah, okay.
Oh, maybe they're still terrible, but not in the way we thought. Yeah. So next chapter is we get Whit is at the door when she is there in her parents' room. I feel like this chapter is really just all about us getting to know Whit a little bit better. Like, she's kind of already wondering what his motives are. Yeah, what his story is. Like, how is he helping Theo Ricardo? Like, all of that kind of stuff. And then we just are getting ready to go to dinner. But I feel like that's kind of what this section was just more of us building that like relationship. So then after that, we go to dinner, and Theo Ricardo is not happy. We meet those two other people, Monsieur. I don't know how you say that. Maspero and Sir Evelyn. And we I feel like this one is really building the world a little bit more, like us learning about what they're digging and why they're digging, and like what the little underground world is. And find out like what they're actually looking for here. So I feel like this chapter was pretty big on that, like just building the world that Inez has no idea about at this point. And we still get for it being the 1800s, we still get a lot of sass from her in front of all of these men, which I'm like a little scared of for her. And also I was like, okay, good for you.
Right. Yeah. It's always interesting to see how authors are going to write it. Like either all the men are just like, whatever, woman, or, they get put in their place. So I think in this case, it felt like they just kind of like ignored her.
Yeah. Mostly just ignored her. We get another Whit POV in this chapter, but I don't feel like we got. I think the only information that it really gave us is that he goes out and does things for Ricardo, like spies for him, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a note right before Whit's point of view where it was just like, the beginning of the book is just so many opportunities to just like punch Inez in the gut about her parents, right? Just like,
yeah, why did they decide to just let her live in that space? Oh, it's probably because he thought he was going to get rid of her.
Well,
right?
And then, I mean, it just like, there's always so many digs at her. Just like, like, she's like, I want to be here. I want to learn these things. I want to get to know my parents. And so many people tell her in the beginning of the book, like, well, your parents wouldn't have wanted you here, or,
right.
Like stuff like that. And I was like, GC Beats, how many times can this girl be told that her parents did not want her? Right.
Yeah, I think even Theo Ricardo at one point says, like, have they ever invited you here?
Mm-hmm.
And that is his way of being like, why? Of course, they didn't want you
Go
here.
back home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so sad. The next chapter, learning a little bit more about the magic, a little bit more about the ring. We get more of Inez's stubbornness of like basically her trying to do you think like prove herself a little bit, like, hey, I know some things, like, don't send me away,
Yeah, about the ring.
Yeah
like one last ditch effort to be like, hey, I can be useful, don't send me back. So
yeah
and then immediately followed by, oh, by the way, it was also stolen.
Yeah, exactly. I like that she waits till the very end. She's like, all the ring, and then he's like, okay, well then give it to me. And she's like, well, I don't have it.
It got stolen.
Whoops. Did I forget that part? Oops. Yes. So so after that we go into the next chapter 7, and Inez decides that she's like, I'm going to go out into the world where my father went, and I'm going to ditch Whit.
Yes.
And in this chapter, we find, we go on the hunt to this market. I don't think she gets the locket yet. Oh, no, she gets it in the next chapter. So in this one, it's just her locking her maid in the room.
At least she was nice enough to give the key to the concierge.
Oh, yes. So. And then runs away and
jumps in a carriage. And Whit has to chase it down.
Literally sprint after her, which...
Yes.
I think I bring this up again later, but like, how does he always find her so quickly? Sorry, what were you gonna say?
It's probably like as soon as he notices that something is amiss, he's like, she's outside in the carriage. Yeah. But I do like the fact that like at the first, like, he didn't know where she is, but then she like peeks again and he's like,
I got you. Are, motherfucker.
And she's like, ooh, he'll never catch me. And then like all of a sudden there's just like traffic.
Right. Yeah, what did you think was gonna happen? I do. I have a little tag on this one where he says, I would never let you inconvenience me by dying. I do have some scruples. Which I think is hilarious. See, those are the kind of like quotes from him that I'm just like, all right, I'm behind you. I really enjoy you, Mr. Whit or Mr. Hayes. What is his name? Whitford? Whitford. Yes. So I feel like that's kind of all this section here. I do have another tag on the last page of that chapter. He's giving Xaden vibes because he says, oh, I'm aware to her when she says, I can be incredibly loud and annoying when I want to be. And in Onyx Storm, Xaden, at least 3 times, I think, he says, well, the fuck aware about like something that Violet says. And as soon as I read, oh, I'm aware, I was like, ooh, are you like a little softer Xaden? Oh. Yes. Okay. So chapter 8, we are in the market. He finally decides to help her out and lead her towards the market, and she is brought to this magic trinket. Which I think is really cool because we get a little more magic information.
It's like, and of course she finds something else that's magical. So
it did make me wonder. So I guess I'll just bring this up here. About the magic in particular. Is it everyone who touches a magic item can now feel that magic? Is she special in any way in the fact that she can still feel it even though she doesn't have the ring with her? Like, I don't understand some of that.
Yeah, so they mentioned a couple times that, like, oh, the magic will latch onto you and like latches onto some people more than others or whatever, and that's why they were kind of like, well, if the magic had latched onto Sterling, he probably would have found the island by now, or found the burial site by now, right?
Okay.
So
it's a little bit by person?
Yeah, that's how I took it, because but then on top of that, she also says, like, you know, the more an object is handled, the less magic that it has to give the next time. So, probably open to interpretation a little bit.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit of convenience.
Yeah, I agree with that. I hope that we get a little bit more information about that in the next book. Like, is Inez more powerful than other people in some way? Is it literally just the fact that she wore the ring for so long? Maybe it was
right. Well, I think they also said that the ring led her father to the tomb.
It did.
So I assume, kind of like you said, like, maybe.
Oh, well, I think this box that she found led her father to the tomb, and then her father took the ring from the tomb, I think.
Oh, maybe.
I think, because then he returned that box to that. That was what I took from it. Which is
weird.
Yeah, I don't know why.
That's what it is. Because he does mention, oh yeah, are you sure you want this box? It's been returned. Like, why would you return it?
Yeah, maybe because he was hiding it from
so burn it,
bitch ass.
I don't know. Fucking throw it in the ocean.
Yeah, then. Or leave it in the tomb with everything else.
With like the ring.
Yeah. Like I don't know. I have some questions on the magic here.
Or send her the box. And leave the ring in the tomb.
Right. so many options here. So I did also have a question about so in this chapter, when he places it on her hand, like she can feel the sizzle of magic, right? And maybe, where is this at? Oh yeah, okay, it's right here. Whit felt the vibration in her hand. So like as soon as she felt the magic, he was able to like feel it through her. So I'm back to like questioning, how does this magic work? Like so when I first read that, I was like, okay, so is there something between Whit and Inez? Like, is there some sort of like fated connection or something like that? Or is it literally just the fact that like she can feel the magic and then he could feel it through her? Is it like, I have some questions.
I took it as they just had a moment.
They had a moment.
That's okay. How I took it.
All right.
Because it happens later in the book too.
It does. There's a couple spots where like they can feel it between each other, and I guess I never really was able to decide one way or the other of what I thought was happening. Like, yeah,
so right. And the first time I was like, oh, like you said, maybe he recognizes that there's magic too or whatever. But then the second time it happens, I don't think she doesn't have the ring. I don't think she has the box. So
yeah, I don't know. And that's why I'm wondering, like, is there some like fated thing between them? Is there some like magic, like past life shit that's gonna? I don't know. Maybe I'm digging really deep, but I was like, I need information on why they can feel like a weird connection. Okay, so next chapter 9.
Well, hold on before we get to 9.
Yes.
So this book has the pictures. And I'm sure I'm going to take my sticky notes so you can see. I'm going to show you the picture that I'm talking about. It's the one that she draws of Whit at that restaurant.
Where that's next chapter. That's chapter 9.
Is it the next chapter? Yeah. Okay, fine. Well, then I'm in chapter 9. But there he is in the restaurant. And For those of you, go look at it. But doesn't he look like John Travolta in Grease?
Hold on, he does.
Every time I saw it, I was like, why is John Travolta in this book?
Yeah. So I actually when I saw this picture, I was like, that's not him. That is not canon for me. I do not accept this.
It is not how I imagined him to be. Like,
well, also what's weird about this is that is not what he looks like in this picture. Like, look at this picture.
Oh, at the beginning? Yeah.
That's like, I feel like this is more him. That is not the same as this.
Like, yeah, so I think she also mentions it. Like, he has like sandy hair and hazel eyes and like
blue
stuff
eyes.
like that. And,
blue eyes.
Oh. Mm-hmm. Okay, so, but I was just like, man, I'm assuming this is shading. Very liberal shading.
Be. Well, and also she's drawing with like charcoal, isn't she? Mm-hmm. So it's gotta be that. Yes, because that is not him. So
yeah, because like I said, John Travolta.
Yes, it is him. You're right. Yeah, so in the rest of this chapter, we get they go to food after their excursion in the market. We get some sexual tension in this chapter. And at the end, they see Mr. Sterling is there with wearing the ring. So, yeah, we're finally starting to, I feel like, build that connection a little bit more. Where before, all the things they were saying to each other was just like witty and like snarky and all that. And I mean, it continues to be that through the book. But this chapter, they're like, "Did you want to kiss me?"
Ooh la la. Yeah.
And so yeah, I feel like it's just building. It's building. So the next chapter we get, Inez finds the letter of her mother's detailing the fear that she had of her brother Ricardo.
And she also finds that little card with like the date and the location and the temple entrance, which you don't know the significance of now.
Right.
But
yes, we find all that out in this. I don't know, I feel like so this chapter was really short and very quick of just her like trying to, like, not trying, but like getting some information about her mom. And I think this is also obviously setting up the storyline of her thinking that Theo Ricardo is not a bad man. Yeah. So in the next chapter, we get Inez has her first vision as Cleopatra, and I still do not understand this. I think we're going to need to talk about this for a minute. And we get another escape from Inez. This time she escapes the little old woman.
Yes.
Which easily. I actually thought was quite hilarious. But okay, so the Cleopatra vision, right? I question, does everyone who touches the magic get the same, like, is Sterling with the ring getting Cleopatra visions? Like, I don't understand.
Yeah, and I mean, like we said earlier, Sterling's only has 3 brief, encounters in this book, and 2 of them, I don't even think they talk to him. They just see him from like far away. So kind of back to what I said earlier, is my assumption is he's not getting the same visions or magic that she is, just because,
they don't find the tomb.
Or maybe he's like those, the English chaps who just wanted to find it, like let everybody else do the work, but
true.
And then just claim the riches for himself at the end. So I also assume that he probably maybe doesn't know that much about ancient Egypt, so even if he saw visions, would he even know what he was looking at, minus he sees a woman like wearing sandals and like walking on a patio, right? Like,
true.
Probably like, oh, this bitch could be Cleopatra because this is her cartouche, but I don't know ancient Egyptian well enough to know that this is a place, right?
Sure. Yep, I agree. So, yeah, you might be right. I think I think I just have a lot of questions about the magic and I want more information.
Right. Yeah.
I just want more.
I feel like, I mean, we'll get into it later, but I feel like there will be more.
There has to be. There has to be.
Book.
Yeah.
Just because the few hints of what exactly Whit is looking for and her mother.
Mm-hmm.
So, and, you know, tied to the vision. I can't remember which vision it is, but tied to the vision, one of the visions that she has of Cleopatra.
Right.
So,
yep. Agreed. And then we end this chapter with another Whit POV. And I feel like in his little POV here, it's kind of giving a little bit of like he's showing that he's thinking about Inez.
Right. He's now realizing that, like, oh shit, I'm attracted to her.
Yeah. Yes. That little shit actually got herself under my skin.
Right. Yeah.
Yes.
And at this point, I'm like, Inez has escaped again. Like, when is this? 4 times, 5 times? Like, you think they would watch her more carefully, because now they're like, oh yeah, no problem. She was no problems. That should, like, what?
So the fact that she escaped Whit a couple of times, what made you think this little old woman was going to be able to keep her under control? You just thought she was going to listen to her? Like, I don't understand.
And
so
Tio even makes the comment that she's kind of spacey.
Yeah.
Like, right? So
yes. So in the same going along that same thing, so the next chapter we get, she goes out and she sneaks on the boat. She meets Kareem and sneaks on the boat. When they realized that she was not with the old lady, why did they not immediately be like, oh, she's gonna sneak on the boat? Like, how did they not know? Did they just not realize that she hadn't left with her? Or like,
I assume that as soon as Tio handed her over, he was like, see ya.
Yeah.
I don't have to worry about this anymore. And, you know, so they probably never even realized until she falls off the boat.
Yeah. Also in this chapter, she learns that her father lied about something and Theo Ricardo is upset about it because she overhears them once she gets on the boat and stuff. So I will say, when she meets Kareem, I immediately was like, okay, I trust him, but I'm scared. Like,
well, and I was really happy that she had like a little bit of a like, who's the captain? Who owns the, like, kind of not just like blindly, like when he's like, oh yeah, I'll show you where the boat is. I work there. Yeah. She's like, okay, thanks. She was like, at least she stopped and asked like, well, who owns the boat? Who's the captain? Asks him some questions that he should reasonably know if he works there. And he's like, oh, it's these people. And then she's like, all right, now I will follow you.
Now I will blindly trust you.
Well, at least there was a little bit there, right?
Yes, exactly. So yeah, we do learn a little bit more about her dad here. Just like, I will say, knowing what we know later, that like Ricardo is not a terrible person, that this does kind of make him sound a little terrible, because in this last part, he talks about her dad lying to him and basically making it sound like he wouldn't be dead if he hadn't gotten my way. So I do think it's a little misleading here of like, maybe he's not the greatest, but I also could see how like he was under the, like, he had false information as well, right? Which we find out.
Right. Yes. So it was misleading in the fact that if they truly didn't think Inez was there, like why, and they both know the truth, right? Like, why still talk in like mysterious, like, like, you shouldn't speak ill of the dead. And he's like, I can when it's deserved. Like,
right. Like, you guys, everybody knows what's happened. Like,
right. Like,
yeah.
So yeah, I think they do she does try to like extend out the, he can't just all be nice, right? You know?
Right. Exactly. There's got to be a little edge to Theo Ricardo. Okay. So we jump into part 2 of the book now. And we're introduced to Mr. Fincastle and his daughter Isadora. We learn, I feel like this chapter is like a lot of us just kind of learning more about the boat life of like things that are going on the boat, and like a little more insight into what the business is, but not like a ton.
Right.
I do appreciate all the little drawings that are in here.
Do you?
Yeah, I think it's kind of cute that like the little drawing of the elephantine. Is that how you say elephantine?
Maybe.
Is that how you would say his ship?
I was just calling it the elephant.
I was too. Yep, this was definitely one of those times where I just kind of changed the word to fit what I was easily able to read.
Yeah.
Okay, so the elephant
help
ship.
Help my brain gloss over it. Yep.
Yes, exactly. So yeah, I feel like that's kind of all that happens in this one. I don't really have a whole lot in that.
Yeah. I think we're in the same chapter, but the part where she falls into the river.
That's the next chapter.
Oh, okay.
We're getting there.
Sorry. Okay,
you can go. Because I was just going to say the next chapter is a big chapter because Inez falls overboard, Whit saves her, and she tells them that she can feel Cleopatra's magic. So.
Right. Yeah. Yes. So definitely a big chapter. And I know she has to get caught somehow.
Yes.
But it was also like, if you just stayed in the empty cabin, none of this would have happened. You could have kept going. You could have kept going for longer. But instead, she has to fall in a river, and Whit has to save her.
Almost get eaten by some.
Almost get eaten. She gets to see him with his clothes stuck to his body.
Dreamy.
Sigh.
Yes.
She had to be caught somehow, and I was just like, okay.
Yes, and then also obviously we had to have it like be extreme where when they're underwater, he gives her like mouth to mouth underwater to give her breath, and I was like, okay, this is wild.
It would also be really hard.
Yeah, I also was thinking of the mechanics of that, and I was like, I feel like maybe you could do that, but really?
Yeah. So, as a side note, a long time ago, I got scuba dive qualified.
Okay.
And there's one part of the test that you have to take the mouthpiece that goes in, like the regulator out of your mouth and let it fill with water, put it back in your mouth, and then blow all that air out or blow all that water out. Okay. And so you can breathe again. And if you don't get it, you just get like a mouthful of water that you either choke on or have to swallow, right? So because you've just like, so every time something like this in a book happens, I'm always like, I don't have the ability, because like you're also wearing like a mask that's covering your nose, but like as you're breathing out, like are you also holding your nose? There's just so many logistics of this, and I'm like, this is not not an easy task.
Yes, I totally agree. I always like when things like this happen in books and stuff, I have to remind myself, like, okay, don't think about it too hard. Like, let's just move on.
Right. So actually, have you ever watched, I can't remember which Jason Bourne movie it is. It's the third one. Okay. Where like she gets shot, the girlfriend gets shot. Maybe it's the second one. She gets shot and it goes into the river, and he goes down to like try and like, but she's already dead. That's kind of how I envisioned that. And I was like, that's the best thing I can do in this case. So,
okay, that's fair.
But I also have a sticky note though. Because in this part, I mentioned it earlier, where like they're both soaking wet, and she makes a comment about his thighs. And I have to say, every single time, it's not just here, every single time an author talks about how like muscly their thighs are, I think of rugby players.
Okay, that's fair.
And man, give me a man.
You're just seeing all thighs. Like the cuts and all the little yes.
I love watching me some rugby. And
okay, that's fair.
So like now in my brain, Whit is a rugby player with them thick thighs, and I'm like,
great. So now you're all in on Whit.
Yeah. All you have to do is talk about thighs. Just keep that in mind.
Great. That is great information. Yes, I don't remember where that is, but I do remember it happening.
Yeah. It's like right before they go into to tell her uncle that she's there.
Oh, okay. I also, there's some pretty lovely banter between them again when they're literally like in the water and he's like, "Did you swim all the way here?" It's a pretty good day for it. And he's she brings up his scruples again, but I think it's funny, like I really enjoy their back and forth.
Yeah, she does a great job with that.
Yes. Also, we do get a little more like a little more, what's the word? Tension, more intrigue or whatever, because he says the reason he thought he knew she was there because he smelled vanilla, and I was like, oh you are in, man. You are
have in. It bad.
Yes. Yeah. So yes, I feel like that's all I have here.
Yeah, I don't have anything for a couple more chapters.
Okay, so the next one is I feel like nothing really happens a lot. They meet Fincastle and or they talk to Fincastle a little bit more about Inez staying, and Whit kind of takes care of Inez in this chapter. I don't know. I feel like this one's just kind of building the story, building the people, building whatever.
Right. So more story building, and then I think the next chapter is the sandstorm.
Yep. So the next chapter is there's a storm on the boat. We learn a little bit about Whit and his family in this one. And then also in this chapter is because while the storm is happening, Inez goes into Theo Ricardo's room and she finds her mom's diary talking about how Ricardo hurt them and that she's in fear. Yeah, so we're in the storm. Also, we can save this part for the end of the end of this chapter's conversation, but Whit's POV says that there's a girl.
I know. Who is this woman?
Yes. So she finds the diary, and the diary is basically saying that like mom had bruises all over her and stuff like that, and Ricardo did it. Like, that's kind of a crazy thing for her to learn when she's like stuck on a boat with him and doesn't really know everybody and
already has suspicions.
Yeah. That was it was a big thing for her. And yes, Whit kind of takes care of her. But the chapter ends with Whit saying, "The only girl I had the right to think about was the one back in England."
Yep. We gotta introduce that.
What? Okay.
Yes.
So go ahead.
No, I don't like the introduction of this woman.
No.
Not because like Whit can't have, like a whatever, but I feel like it just introduces a barrier to them getting together sooner.
Yep.
Because later in the book he gets there's another Whit point of view, and I know I'm jumping ahead wildly, but like where he's like, "Oh, I took it as she basically like broke it off," is how I took it.
Yes, I have a note about that one, is like because he gets that letter and says like she never writes me or something like that.
Yeah, so
yes.
I assumed that it was her, the fiance, right? Which maybe you're meant to believe that. Maybe, but I have no clue. It could have been the sister too, for all I know. But so yeah, I just felt like it was there as a impediment to them, like
being
exploring
able to
their feelings. Yes. Right. So
yes, exactly. Well, in the next chapter, in Whit's POV, he goes to a fucking brothel. I was not happy about this, but I immediately was like, he went to a brothel?
Right. And and you're led to believe that he's there for a good time.
Right.
But then in the end,
he's like, no, you can stop there.
He's like, no, I can't do it. Inez has some has some narrow, bony, defiant shoulders that I really love. I was like, that's what turns you away from a prostitute? Inez's narrow, bony, defiant shoulders? I was like, come on, you couldn't pick anything else. Like, I feel like I have to go ask my husband if I have, like, shoulders that would, keep him from visiting a brothel. Like, I don't know.
Don't you like my bony shoulder?
Yes.
Oh, yes. Oh, okay. So that's how this chapter ends, but the rest of the chapter is we finally meet Abdullah and Farida, and because we land on the I don't know if it's an island or whatever location. Okay, yeah, we land on the island and we finally meet this business partner, and I really liked him. I immediately felt like I could trust him. So I was like, I don't know what's going on with mom or with Theo Ricardo and all that kind of stuff. But I really felt like I liked Abdullah. And so I was like, maybe he doesn't know what Ricardo is doing. Because at this point, I'm still thinking that Ricardo is a bad person. Right. So, I really liked him. And I liked Farida, the fact that she has a Kodak.
Yes. I actually wish that he was in more of the book.
Me too.
He had a bigger role in the book because he just, I don't know, for how important he was made out to be in the beginning of the book, I don't think he played a very big role.
I agree. He was very background.
Yeah. And then by the end of the book, they're like, we have to do all these other things. And he's like, just leave me behind.
Yep. Okay, so now we are in part 3. This is where they get their rooms. They find out that their Whit and Inez are going to be next to each other. And they go on a little hunt for magic in this chapter. So, I don't know. I feel like this one was just more building, right? Like nothing crazy happens in this chapter. It's more of them just showing that she's able to I don't know, find magic. Yeah.
And also another opportunity for Theo Ricardo to be a jackass.
Right? Oh yes, of course. Yeah. Well, yes, because we have to keep building that storyline, right? That he's a shithead. So the next chapter, which is 29, we get a lot more tension between Whit and Inez. She starts drawing for her uncle, and we get a little more Whit info in this chapter. So we get that he has a brother, that he left England, all that kind of stuff, while she's sitting there drawing inside of the tombs.
Yeah.
Or and then whatever.
And then he also finds out that she has a person of interest.
Back home.
And he gets all stick up the bum about it.
No, he's not allowed.
Yeah.
He cannot have feelings about it.
Right.
I do like that they have this conversation about saying names. I do kind of like that running line of them being familiar with each other.
Right. You shouldn't say it. And then she's, I can't remember where it is exactly, but she's like, oh, I think maybe it's the boat. I don't remember after the boat, but she says his name and he's like, you shouldn't say it. You shouldn't say my name. It's familiar. And she's like, you literally called me it 5 times. And he's like, I don't fucking care.
That was different. Well, it was funny though, because I did notice when they are in the water, when he jumps in to save her and stuff, he yells Inez, and I immediately caught it, and I was like, oh shit. You, sir, are calling her by her first name.
Yeah. Well, and sorry, I just found the part that I was talking about. But it's let's observe proper etiquette. And she's like, by the way, we're basically even. You've said my name twice. And he's like, that doesn't make us even. It makes us idiots. Yes. And I was like,
I love that.
I giggled a little at that line.
Yes. Okay, so next chapter, we're going hunting again for magic. And he's testing her out to see if she can find rooms, which I didn't love that it was like a test for her. Like, we already know that she can feel it. We already know that whatever, but I don't know. I just feel like this section was a little, like, every time it was almost like they wanted a good girl moment. Do you know what I mean? Where like she did what she was supposed to do and he's like, good girl. I kind of felt I don't know. It's not whatever. So anyways, they find this room, and so they go in, and the next chapter we get a shit ton more tension between them. She finds the room that Whit blew up. So like we get more information here. She kisses him, and she asks for him not to tell that they found this space, and he has a betrothed. This is when we find out that he has a betrothed.
So sad.
I really did. I will tell you, as soon as he says, I have a betrothed, I literally said, what?
Yeah.
And I do like that the Whit POV is just bloody hell. That is his whole POV.
Yeah. Right. Oh yeah, that was one of the better parts. But
yes.
So the whole thing where she walks into his, like, goes into his room to like talk to him or whatever, and he like catches her and then like flips her on her back and like all that's supposed to be sexual tension. I was like, how the fuck, if he picks her up, flips her through the air, she lands on her back, one, how did she just not fucking like lose her breath? How is she having like a normal conversation? Yes. Like, I don't understand that. And why is that? I also don't feel like if you were Whit and you wanted to stop somebody from like murdering you, which is what it sounds like he thought was going to happen, would you bear hug that person and whip them down on the floor and lay on top of them?
I mean,
a good whacking with a candlestick. A candlestick would work.
Right. Not knock them out. I mean, you want to knock them out. You don't want to just like be on top of them so then they could like shoot like, you shank you. Yes, exactly. So wild. Yes, you are correct.
So I was just, but there's also something that she says that drives me crazy in books. Okay. And it's silly and it's small.
Okay.
But I made a whole sticky note about it. Okay. And it was, so I always find it weird. So like she says, silently he went to an upended crate and struck a match. Without ceremony, he lit the candle and a flame illuminated the room. Why the fuck do you have to say without ceremony? Who lights candles with ceremony? And I feel like, is this something that I should be doing? Like every time I light a candle, do I have to be like,
you have to make like a show
and then like like wave it around the room a little, like, light the candle, like make a wish, like what am I supposed to be doing in this candle lighting ceremony that Whit is doing?
I want you to do an interpretive dance every time you light a candle. Okay?
Apparently I have to.
Yes, you must.
So
well, after he did a little jig, or didn't do a little jig.
Left that out.
Yes, we get to the next chapter, and Mom is alive.
How convenient.
How convenient. So, yes, we get Mom. So, at first, I was confused. I did not know what was happening. I was like, is she actually there? Or is Inez
it's like a magic thing? Yeah.
Yes. What is happening? So I will say, at first I did think it was a magic thing where like Mom was showing up to like tell her to be careful of Whit, actually, because it was right after the kissing. It was right. I felt like it was going to be all connected, and then when it wasn't, I was like, I don't know if I'm let down by this or not. But I did feel at first that it was going to be something to do with like, you need to be careful. But no, it was Mom coming in to ask for her help.
Bitch.
So the next chapter is Inez feels... Oh.
Yeah. Oh, no, I was just saying. And of course, Inez trusts her.
Of course, immediately. Just like, yeah, you've been lying to me and leaving me my whole life, but here, okay.
Yeah. And even the stuff that, like, probably caught by, like, normal readers, right? Because she was like, oh, and the ring that Dad sent me. And she was like, what ring?
What? Mm-hmm.
And Inez was like, oh, the ring, right? And she, oh, yeah, that ring. Mm-hmm. Sorry, my bad. Excuse. So
yeah, why didn't... Yeah, exactly. You're right. All of this shit should have been caught. We should have known from the beginning she was a piece of shit. Okay, so next chapter, Inez feels magic in the room and they find the entrance that they haven't been able to find yet. And Whit is questioning her the whole time about who was in her room. So yeah, basically this whole chapter is just them going through and being like, oh, I can feel this. Oh, I can feel this. And then they get into it. They find that in the next chapter, they find the treasury and Theo Ricardo shows up.
Bum, bum, bum.
Bum, bum, bum. So
there is one part. There is one part in here that it's another thing that bothers me.
Okay.
about how people write.
Okay.
And so I apologize to all of you who are just listening, but when they say things like he chuckled through his teeth. That sounds demonic. It's just like, what? What's wrong with just saying he chuckled?
I never understand that because I don't how do you do things like through your teeth? Like
it's another thing of do people, like, what people are chuckling with their mouths open, like, I'm just like, oh,
you sound like a prissy English woman.
I know. Just open your teeth next time you chuckle at me.
Fair.
So,
I
sorry, guys. It's just like, what in the fuck? So they found the tomb.
Yes, they found the tomb. They find whatever. Okay, so in this chapter, Whit, Inez had just finished telling Whit that she didn't really trust Ricardo. She hadn't told him why yet, but just that she didn't trust him. And then as soon as he shows up and he is sent off to go get Abdullah, he goes really fast and he comes back like as fast as he can. And I feel like it was like he knew that she didn't trust him, but didn't know why yet. And so was like, I'm going to be back as fast as possible so I can protect her.
Yes, it was very caring.
It was very caring. I feel like it was meant to maybe not, I don't know if it was meant to look like it. I don't know if it was like, that was supposed to be clear, but that's the vibe I got. And they finish the chapter by walking in. So, the next chapter, I feel like the next chapter is a little sad because, well, not sad yet, I guess, but we just get more of her mom. I feel like every chapter now with her mom is like, it's disappointing.
It's disappointing, right?
Yeah.
Because she makes her trust her. She tells her that, like, a believable story, right? For a girl who is not been around her parents forever, right?
Yeah.
So she doesn't really know this person. She has feelings for this, wants to do the right thing, has all these bad feelings about Tio Ricardo, and he is not helping himself by being an asshole.
Right.
So, like, setting the framework for her to just be like, I want to help my mom. I will help steal all these artifacts, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And then also in this one, Mom tells Inez that Theo Ricardo murdered her father. Like literally just is like, yeah, he murdered him. So you need to hate him, but pretend like you love him.
Yeah. Good luck.
Good luck. And go shrink all these things and bring them to me. Like, What a bitch of a mom, man. What? So even before, at this point, I still felt like I wasn't, obviously I didn't know what was happening, right? So I still was like, okay, mom is just trying to do what she said she was doing. Like, she wants to get out as much as she can so that Theo Ricardo can't have it. Even if that is true, you still are sending your daughter in to like do something super dangerous, right? Like, right. If she got caught while doing this, it was going to be really bad for her.
Yeah, like exactly like you're saying. If what she was saying was true and Tio is a murderer, you are sending your daughter in to fucking steal from him.
Yes, right under his nose.
She's like, oh, just be careful.
Yeah, it's fine. It'll be okay. So, okay, so the next chapter is Inez tells Whit how she feels. So it's like a short chapter, but she tells him how she feels. She says, I'm attracted to you. And because she's planning on leaving with her mom, so she's just like, last ditch effort, I'm just going to let him know what I feel. I'm going to wait. So there is a Whit POV at the end of this one, but I want to talk about the chapter first before we talk about Whit's POV. Okay. So yeah, I don't know how I feel about her just being like, I'm attracted to you, and then like leave. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's just like something where she's like, I feel like I need to get this off my chest before, I never see you again. I have to at least be honest, that kind of stuff. So that's kind of what I chalked it up to.
Yeah.
Of course, he feels the same way.
It goes both ways, Inez. It goes both ways. Okay, so then Whit's POV here at the very end. Who is A?
I think that's his dad.
Okay, so that's what I thought too, and mostly because it says your mother is at her wit's end, and so I take that as to be like his father is writing him, but I don't know.
What's his sister's name?
Her name is Arabella. So it might be his sister, but I
don't know, because it's not the brother.
No, it's not the brother. So you know what? I think it might be his sister because, so I don't know if it's in the Fairy Loot book, but at the end of the Owl Crate book, there are letters, like bonus chapters or bonus letters between Whit and Arabella. And in all of those...
Oh yeah, I forgot about this. I didn't even read it. Dang it.
So in all of those letters, it's really just Arabella being like, you need to come home. Like, seriously, come home. We really miss you. If you don't come home, I'm going to come get you. Like, stuff like that. So after now thinking it through, I kind of think it could be Arabella. But the fact that it says you will not thank me for this visit, I promise you, doesn't sound like her. So I don't know. I'm still going to go with it's either dad or sister.
Which book did you have? What
Owl Crate. Owl Crate.
I don't think I have the letters. Mine's not letters. No.
What is yours?
It's another chapter.
Oh, it is? So it says specifically keep reading for Owl Crate bonus content. And it's a letter exchange between Whitford Hayes and his sister Arabella Hayes.
No, I don't have that. I have another chapter, but it's... Okay, so my chapter is not any of that. It's a rewrite of the chapter inside the tomb with author's notes.
Oh,
so
okay.
I don't have those. I don't have that letter.
Okay, I'll send them to you. Nice. I'll send you screenshots. There's like 4 or 5 letters between them. Cool. Okay, so we didn't land on where we really thought who A was, but it's probably dad or sister. Okay, so the next chapter is the sad chapter. Mom abandons Inez. And Inez ends up admitting everything to Whit afterwards. Which I felt like a big jump because she immediately trusts him. Like,
yeah. after saying, like, I can't trust him. Like, I don't know if I can trust him.
And then tells him everything.
Yeah. At that point, my assumption is that she was just...
Yeah.
Like, that was rock bottom.
You're probably right. Like, she was like, well, I mean, Mom fucked me over, so I might as well just tell somebody.
Right. And so... Because she even, like, after the boat left and she could see them out in the distance, she was like, well, maybe something happened and the boat, like, the current took the boat or something like that. Like, still that little sliver of hope. And then she finds the letter. She finds the letter from her mom. So after that, I assume she just hits, like, rock bottom. And she's just like, I don't have anybody to trust.
Yeah.
Right? So...
She has sad.
To tell everybody.
Oh, that's right, because she reads the letter and starts crying, and then he's like always immediately right there. Like, the first tear falls down her face, and he's like, "Who did it?"
Yeah, like my assumption is he was like already just
in his room
waiting for, like, maybe he already knew she was gone, or he heard her leaving, or I don't know, thin walls.
Thin walls. It's a tent. I don't know.
So,
that's very true. I don't know. I just feel like it's always very convenient that he's literally right there as soon as she needs him. And I do like at the very end of the chapter that she says, "You're terribly decent despite pretending to be otherwise." I think that's cute. So then the next chapter, Whit makes Inez go and tell Theo Ricardo and Abdullah what happened, and she learns to shoot with Isadora. So first, I think Theo Ricardo took it terribly, which is understandable, but also, like, he really does flip out for a minute. And I do enjoy, I think this might be in the next chapter, but how Whit is like, you have to remember how much Inez does not know her mom.
Or anything.
Right. So of course she's going to believe her mother, because all she's ever seen of her is like small little snippets in Argentina, right? It's only ever been these little moments where mom is nothing but a loving mother. And so I love that he, like, kind of sticks up for her a little bit in those moments. The whole scene with her learning how to shoot, I'm not sure how I feel. It was very weird. I don't know what it was setting up.
Me neither. Minus maybe something in the second book.
Maybe. I don't know. I just felt like there was all of a sudden tension, right, where Isadora became like a weird, crazy person. And then we don't get anything else of it, though.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, great.
I have no clue. Yeah, I kind of I assumed that was just like I don't know, because she also has that, like, warning where she's like, just don't trust anybody. And I was like, is that foreshadowing?
Of not being able to trust everyone.
And I'm like, okay, like, what does she know, right? But yeah, and then on top of that, the whole, like, gun shooting thing, it's like, is that also foreshadowing, or is that just like something to get her away from the rest of the group so she don't trust anybody?
Right. I mean, well, so that could be true, but then she points her gun at her.
Well, yeah, I took that as part of the lesson. Like,
oh, don't trust people.
Here's the gun. And she's like, what the fuck are you doing? And she's like, see how easy it is? You just came out here with me. You don't even know me. Don't trust anybody. Gun. There was no shooting.
There was not any shooting. Okay. All right. That's fair. I will get behind this theory. I think she, okay, now I just came to me. She knows something about Whit. She knows something about something that's going on. And this is her way, without telling her anything, of telling her, like, be careful. Okay, fair.
Because they do make it a point to say that her father is very good at what he does. and he knows a lot of people. Plus, earlier in the book, they did have that thing where they were supposed to meet Abdullah, and they were like, "Oh no, we can't. We have a previous plans."
Yep.
So there's like that makes me think that they probably know something more than they're letting on, right? Like, so I don't know. That
all right.
We'll see.
Yep, I will accept this. Okay, so the next chapter, Whit and Inez are together in the tomb and they share gifts with each other for Christmas. We learn that he kept her button.
So adorbs.
So cute. And then the chapter ends with us finding out that Elvira is missing and she wants to go back to Argentina. She, meaning Inez, to go find her or find out what happened. Which doesn't
make any sense, but whatever.
No, not at all. So yeah, this whole chapter is mostly them being in the little cave or whatever and sharing gifts with each other, which is cute. I think it's just more of them just like building a relationship,
which I appreciate.
Yep, I definitely appreciate. This is another, so we end though with Whit's POV with Theo Ricardo telling Whit, like, I know you've come to care for her. Thank you for leaving her alone. And like him just saying, I left before I had to tell another lie. Like, does he love her?
Is that the lie? Or
well, no, because like he says thanks for leaving her alone when in reality he hasn't left her alone, right? Like they've kissed and he's like whatever. So does he love her or does he like what?
So I think that's what you're led to believe, right? Yes. Is that like, oh, he left before he had to lie about leaving her alone and doing what Theo Ricardo said he should do, like, oh, don't touch her, leave her alone, she's off limits. He left, but also part of me think, like, now that I've, you read the whole book, part of me also thinks that, like,
he didn't have to lie to her about what his actual plan is.
Right. Like, he's keeping something from Tio as well, right?
So... Okay, we're not going to talk about that yet. Okay. I'm too heartbroken. I want to keep it lovey as much as we can.
Right. Well, I mean, he says that, and then in part 4, he's part like, 4. Yeah. So,
well, yeah. So we get more of yes. Okay. Part 4. So
we get more of him being such like a loving person.
Adorable.
Like, yeah.
Yes. So the next chapter they get back to Cairo.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why I said Cairo. I know things. They get back to Cairo, back to the hotel, and Elvira is there.
Huzzah!
Huzzah! So she's there. They go to the room, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they go to the room.
They go up to the room, and it ends with, I was gonna say something about the letter, but that's in the next chapter. But it ends with her basically being like, "Oh yeah, while I was hanging out here, I found this letter." Right. So I guess that's really all that was that chapter. So the next one, we get the letter from Papa. And it basically says Mom is out of control.
she is a bitch.
Yes,
untrustworthy bitch.
Yes, we've basically reached our end. She's done. But it also says don't stop looking for me.
Right. If only he would have sent this 2 weeks earlier.
Right. If only.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, so
then the please never stop looking for me. Yeah. Like, why? Why should I? Do you know something? Are you going into hiding?
Exactly.
So, yeah.
So.
And then also, if everybody is that dangerous, why are you putting your child into that? He's just as bad as the mom. Like, your mom is a homicidal bitch. Yeah. Keep looking for me.
Right. No one is safe here, okay? No one is safe.
A family of madness.
Yes. I do think it's funny during this whole chapter that Elvira is basically like, hey, hubba, you should go after Whit.
Yes.
Like the whole time. So this is the first chapter, or the first POV of Whit that we get. That's kind of crazy, because in this one he goes out to do whatever he's got to do, and he ends up just like killing this guy without even, I mean, obviously they were going after him too, so it was a little bit self-defense, but he was just kind of like, boop, you're dead, and I'm out.
Yeah, so like that whole thing about going there and he sees the warehouse location, like that felt like a setup so that way they knew where to go later, right?
Yeah.
But then like he was like, I guess I just have to kill this guy.
Yeah.
It was just like, Jesus.
Yeah, it was crazy. Okay, so then in the next chapter they go to the dance and Whit is a lord. We didn't know this.
We didn't?
No. We did not know this before.
Oh, I knew this. But only because I read the book. So I knew this from the first time I read this, so yes. I was not surprised, but yes. Okay.
So, yes, Whit is a lord, and which is wild to me. It makes more sense to me now, understanding that his family has found this girl for him that he's been betrothed to since they were children, and also makes me understand more why his family keeps sending him letters and is like, come home. But they're very adorable dancing.
But is it real?
Yes, Nicole, it is real, because we have not made it to the epilogue yet.
Oh, okay, yes.
So it is
very
real.
Much in love.
He's in love, okay? Okay, so the next chapter. Good Lord, man. Elvira sneaks out because she has a date with a man that she met at the party. And Mom literally just offered her up to replace Inez. So I guess she's kidnapped a little bit. So she sneaks out, but is then ultimately kidnapped. And Mom sends tickets to Inez and is basically like, I've saved you. I sacrificed your cousin.
Get the fuck out of here.
Get out of here. Mom is a terrible person.
Yeah.
What is happening here? Like, okay. All right. So I guess that's really, that chapter is really all the build up to what's happening next, which is Inez goes after Elvira. Whit goes after Inez. Again, how does he find her so fast?
Yeah.
And they are ultimately locked into the tomb. So this chapter and the next chapter, they are fighting, whatever, and then they get locked in the tomb, and then the next chapter is they are in the tomb. So discuss. Go forth.
Yeah, and I whatever. They had to get caught. So
they did have to get caught.
Yeah. I just don't like that. I mean, it's a common thing in books where like they, like, why did she think these criminals would just let her cousin go if she showed up?
Right. Just switch us out. It'll be fine.
Yeah. Like, the only thing you're doing in that scenario is now you're both trapped. And I guess at least you get a make out session out of it, but like,
right.
I know I'm skipping ahead a little bit. I know she has to do it for the book. Yeah. But at the same time, and I know she's also young. And sometimes like maybe you just feel like that, I've never been in that situation. So
you've never been locked in a tomb with someone before?
Raced in, gun blazing, and now
your cousin's never been stolen in your stead. I agree. I do feel like this is maybe convenience not the right word, but it's really just building up to what happens, right? So it's giving them a little bit more alone time. It's giving them like that end of world feeling feeling where they have to like express. So this is when we learn like why was he dishonorably discharged, and like we do get a makeout session, and we get all of kind of more of the background information on Whit in this section. And I think that is, it's like them getting caught and in this moment of being like, we're gonna die, had to be the catalyst for him to share,
right, for him to be vulnerable.
Yes, exactly. So then they're saved. Theo Ricardo shows up and blasts them. Saves them.
Why? I get it. I get why he did it, but I was like, man, that seems irresponsible.
I'm just gonna blow this up and hope nobody's standing there.
Yeah.
Yes, it was wild. Okay, so the next chapter. Oh my fucking god. The next chapter, her cousin is literally just killed at point blank range in front of everyone.
Execution style.
Yes. What the fuck?
I remember being wildly surprised.
Yes.
Like when it happened, I was like, wow, not what I was expecting. I expected like her to be found later by the police or something like that, like roughed up or something.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I didn't expect everyone to make it out whole. Like somebody was gonna get beat up or something, but like for her face to be blasted off in front of them.
And and like they even said like she got the blood splatter.
Yes.
So like
what? How her aunt is never going to forgive this. Like
sister, aunt, herself. Yeah.
Yes. Like she's gonna have some trauma in book 2. She has
didn't
to
in this one, but
because I did notice like the last couple of chapters it's just because that's really all that's left, but it's like she's sad and she's like, yeah, I have to avenge her.
She's
but
like
it's
repressing it, but it's not. Yeah, I feel like if I witnessed that, I would have a lot more initial trauma.
Yeah.
Plus, like, no.
Well, because she basically grew up as her sister, like almost, right? So like that is wild. But then the chapter ends with Whit being the savior, and he literally just like shoots everybody.
Yeah. She like splashes the hot water, and Whit's like pew 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 pew, and Tio is like passed out on the ground.
Right. Yes. Okay. So there's that. So then the next chapter we get Theo Ricardo is back to being fucking crazy and saying that she is not allowed to have any of her money until she marries.
Yeah.
And
before that, they kind of give her like a half explanation, right? Like they're kind of like, like, oh, he didn't trust you. That's why he sent me the ring. They like walk through all the things. Cause I was like, oh, wow. As with most books with a miscommunication trope, or I know it's not an actual one, but like, man, the truth comes out at the end and only after it's done the most damage. And the book would have been a lot shorter if you would have just been honest. Like.
Yep. And then this is where we find that wait, hold on. Sorry.
No, you're good. You were saying yeah. But then Tio Ricardo does that whole thing like, you are going back. There's nothing now. You don't get your money. She's like,
because he's like, you can't stay here because how are you going to stay here? You can't support yourself. You don't have any money.
Yeah. And she's like, no, I have a lot of money.
Yeah.
And Whit's like, wait, you have money?
Right. Like she could buy, he goes, you could buy a whole kingdom? What?
Yeah. And then,
so in this case, though, I do find the fact that he's a lord and she is whatever she is with all this fucking money, I feel like that's a perfect, like, in their societal, like, requirements, they would be a good match. Right?
But obviously there's something going on there.
Yes. So it ends with the whole telegram situation with Whit getting a telegram, and it says, she had never written to me before, not even once. I didn't expect her to cut me out of her life, but she had. Who? Is it the betrothed? Is it...
That's what I assume. I assume it's the betrothed.
Okay, so that's what I was thinking too, but remember earlier he tells Inez that he's only ever talked to her like twice in his life. He says, the family set it up when we were children. We've only ever spoken twice times or whatever it was. And so this makes it sound like it's somebody that he knows. To me, like, because it says, I didn't expect her to cut me out of her life, but she had thoroughly. So,
yeah, I don't know, because like, so I thought if you go back to that whole thing with the letter, like, I will come and get you, like, it can't be the sister. Assuming that letter is from the sister, it can't be from her.
Right.
So like,
no,
I don't know.
So I almost feel like the A is gotta be somebody else, because I feel like the A is the fact that his sister's name starts with an A is to throw us off. There's somebody else who is cutting him out. Okay, so then the next chapter comes and it ends with "Marry Me," which I immediately was like, adorable.
But he's also wild ass drunk.
He is very drunk. It's not as romantic as it could be, okay? Yeah. My post-it note says, I literally don't know what to think right now.
Right. But you also don't get her reaction to it. He just says, "Marry me." Marry me, and then it ends.
It just ends. We're just gonna pretend it ends.
We could do the whole Nicole thing where we just don't read that.
We just don't read it. Okay, so no, we have to. I'm fucking heartbroken because I don't know what it means and I need to know what it means. So Porter, who I didn't know who it was at first, but it's his brother. So Porter sends a message. No, he receives a message from someone. We assume it's Whit. But it says Inez fell for it. And then he says Whit had kept his word. What does that mean, Nicole?
I haven't read the second book.
I know. What does it mean, though? I want to know your theories because I will be starting this book within the hour.
As soon as we're done here. Yeah.
Yes, done recording, reading.
I don't know. So the easy answer is his betrothed, like, stopped whatever it is, like, stopped their engagement. It was like, no, fuck you. Like, he was probably gonna marry her because she had money, and now that she's like, I'm done. But he's a lord.
He has
that
money.
That doesn't mean he has money.
You don't think his family has money?
I mean, you could be an impoverished lord.
Okay. All right.
You know. So, I mean, the only reason I think that is because
you think he's a gold digger.
Yeah. Like he
okay.
Like he needed the money, and now that he found out that
Inez
has money, he's like, oh, this, I fucked up, but Inez wouldn't be a bad substitute, right? So
okay, but this makes it sound like it's been in the plans for a while, though. Like, and he literally just found out. Well, but how would they have sent things back and forth and set something up, and where Whit kept his word? Like, the fact that it says Whit kept his
for money. I don't know. Like, yeah, like I said, I don't have. it's not a great like stone, whatever. What do they call it? Stone proof, stone solid, rock solid, rock solid.
There you go.
Something like it's not set. Like I don't know. It's not foolproof. But
okay, so I think this is. I think this is meant to throw us off. I do think there's something shady here, but I think his feelings are real. I think he really cares for her. I think he's fallen in love with her. I think the fact that he's drunk while he proposed makes it a little crazy, but I do think I feel like the marry me thing was for her to help her out so that she could stay here and get her money and go after her mom.
Like he's falling on his sword. Like, I'll marry you so you can get your money. Yeah.
So I still believe that his feelings are real.
Yeah, I think that his feelings are real, but I also think there's a little bit of convenience, like killing two birds with one stone. And there's gonna be a point in the second book where she finds out and she's like, I thought you loved me, and he'll be like, I do, but I really need money, or I really need this scroll, or like something like that, right? So, you know.
Why do you think he needs this alchemy paperwork so much? Do you think, like, I almost feel like there's somebody back home that's sick or something like that.
Well, that was the reason they gave for Sterling, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, maybe it's, at first I thought it was the sister, like maybe because the sister was the only one he had like positive feelings about.
Right.
So I thought it was probably her, but now I'm just kind of like, dude, I don't fucking know.
I don't know. I don't. I think it's going to be one of those situations where, you know, like in movies and TVs and books and all that kind of stuff, there's always like a storyline where there's like a bet. And so it always starts with like this really mean, unfortunate bet, but then the person always falls, and then the person finds out that it was a bet, and then ultimately everything's fine because they're like, yes, it started that way, but I fell in love with you along the way. Yeah. It almost feels like it's going to be something like in that vein where like, yeah, he started out, I don't know, because there's literally nothing in their interactions that makes me feel like it was set up.
I know. I don't know. We'll have to keep an eye on him.
I'm so sad.
Are you gonna stay up late?
Maybe. So I do have to say, though, I can only read so much because then I do have to edit this episode before the first. So
I know. I was like, oh, maybe I'll read it. I'm afraid I'll read it all this weekend, and then I'll come into I'll come into an episode, our recording on Monday, and I'll be like, so I read nothing to share because it's all bonus bites.
Yes, we do have to split it up a little bit. Shit. Okay, so what was your rating of this book?
4.
Okay. I think that's so I did really enjoy it. I do think I want to also go with a 4. I'll be honest and say that I was really debating between 3.5 and 4. Because I did like it, I did enjoy it, but honestly, the only reason it holds 4 and not 3.5 is the banter. I feel like their banter with each other is the best part of it. Like, I think I really enjoy the snarkiness and the yeah.
And I'll be super sad if the second book isn't the exact same way.
Right. They still, even as we find out shit about Whit and stuff, we still need to have their snarky, even if they like fall in love and get married and like all the things, and we find out that he's perfect and he has no problems. I still need them to have like sarcastic banter with each other and not just be like, I love you, you know?
Just turn into like beige
yes.
lovers.
Yeah. Yes. Because that is what we are going to find out, that he is perfect. Okay? Okay.
Probably.
Yes, thank you.
Minus the drinking and shooting people in the head.
We're not going to think about those things. Those do not exist in this world. Thank you.
Sorry.
Okay, great. So please let us know. Your chaotic energy is gone.
I took all the sticky notes out. I had to show you.
Thank you. Let us know what you thought. Please send us all your theories and all the things, because we want to know what they are before we record the next one. So
no spoilers
for book 2. Yes, don't send us spoilers for book 2. And if you do, make it very clear so that we know not to read it until after we finished the book.
Yeah, or else Vanessa will come for you.
I will find you. Yeah, so send us all your thoughts and feelings about what this book. Did you have the same feelings that we did about it? Like all the things about the river, what the river knows. I already forgot the name.
Whatever that river's doing.
Yes, that river. Tell us all your thoughts and all the things. Also tell us your thoughts about where the library hides. We want to know everything. Tell us everything. Email us, savorthestorypod.com. Go to our socials, Savor the Story Pod. Go everywhere and talk to us. We appreciate it. We love you. Next bonus bite, number 7 of the next book, will be on May 1st. And our next episode, regular episode, will be out on Sunday. And come to the video so you can see Nicole dancing. All right, that is all. Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Get out of here.